Hello, Savannah. Hello, 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 and welcome to another edition of Kandily Kesha. It is yet another Monday, wet and rainy nonetheless, but we are here. Listen, we are not going to labor you long. We are a little bit delayed this evening, but we're going to jump right into things by way of a little bit of a council update on a handful of items, but most importantly, I want to acknowledge that my colleague in community, Alderwoman Bernetta Bryant Lanier from the first with us. And so we want to remind you to log on to your City of Savannah webpage. Every other week, every other Thursday, to view our council agenda, as well as look at how and what your council has voted on. And so by a couple we want to that the City of Savannah, we had a couple of petitions at our zoning hearings for Rockingham Farms for a development at the Tybee Depot. And I want Alderwoman Lanier to talk to us tonight a little bit about that project and the elements that led to them developing an opportunity or enterprise zone. We'll clarify that. But we also had a handful of liquor license that came up. There was a proclamation recognizing September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. The City of Savannah honored and celebrated the contributions of Hispanic Americans in our history across the nation. And we had several of our Hispanic citizens from the City of Savannah appear in chambers for that recognition and presentation, which was really nice. Let's see what else I had as a highlight here. We wanted you to know getting a plan for the property, which is adjacent to Hitch Village and Fred Wessels. And this was a particular interest to me simply because we know what is happening or the threat that is occurring with Yamacraw. And so we want to make sure we are keeping our eyes on development that doesn't mimic the existing residents in the area. We know right across the street is the Eastern Wharf. And in as much as we have been told, the new development on President Street at Tybee Depot across from Eastern Wharf would essentially mimic that particular development. And so we can't but wonder and fear what implications, adverse that is, there will be on the adjacent properties there, the adjacent housing development properties through the Housing Authority of Savannah, Hitch Village, and Fred Wessel. So we continue to question developments and the extension of approvals of that scope. Is Alderwoman Lanier with us?
Yes, I am with you. I apologize for not having my camera on, but I'm driving, but I definitely wanted to be a part of this conversation.
No problem. You are fine. I know you have been doing triple duty. Had a handful of appointments and housing emergency with some of your constituents, and you, I understand, are coming from a neighborhood association. That's what we do. We are all people. We're happy that you are with us here tonight. I was just going through highlights from the last city council meeting, just trying to filibuster until you got here. But we'll come back to this. One particular issue I had was with item number 25, which authorized the city manager to execute a contract for ready-mix concrete utilities company in the amount of $180,000. And we just took an opportunity to raise an issue there because we know that there is a lack of equity when it comes to where sidewalks and streets are paved in the city. And so one area in particular on Cloverdale Drive, I made the request for repair since June, and the residents in the area, they date their initial request back 2 years ago. But we understand that the repair has been needed there for more than 4 years. And so when we drive through some of our more affluent communities and we see sheets and sheets of new sidewalks and sidewalks that have been repaired, those property owners are no less deserving of those repairs. Nonetheless, we want to make sure that our city staff is exhibiting those parameters that are close to equity and not ignoring communities that have historically been ignored in the past. And so we're hopeful that once the rain stops, we will see that repair as well as some others. And that just happened to be in your district as well, Alderwoman Lanier. We know that you have weighed in on that quite a bit as well. And then there was another contract modification, and we are leery and continuously concerned about contract modifications and contract amendments, recognizing that oftentimes the lowest bidder is outbid by individuals who historically will win the bids based on their lower bid, only to come back with multiple contract modifications and amendments. And that's been somewhat of a practice that doesn't sit too well with me and some of the others. But this was for a renewal with Russell Landscape for Victory Drive median maintenance in the amount not to exceed $39. And I understand that this work will be from the Ogeechee Road side of Victory Drive back to Downing Avenue. And so watch for how your dollars are spent. I want the community to watch for how that corridor, with regard to that distance, how it is being maintained. Is that a good use of $39,060? And we took an opportunity to ask the city manager to look into what we can do to maintain some of the underpass at the overpass, particularly at the Truman flyovers, where we have a lot of our homeless citizens where they set up camp. And of course, they are free to do that, but we are continuously concerned about the litter as well as some of the environmental pollutants that occur in those areas. And I think I'm going to stop there, Alderwoman, and I just want to dive in really quickly to what's going on in the first district. We have cleared out, well, we have to define who they are. But cleared out Clearview. They are attempting to yank Yamacraw, and now we are caught up in capturing the connection. Now there's a letter, and I'll give you a little bit of time if you have that letter handy, because I want you to read this letter. That's going to happen in the Canal District and people who own properties in the district. And then we're going to talk about the and that development and increase, and I'll end with the increased street as well as the camps that are popping up in the 6th district and 3rd district corridors. But where do you start? Well, we know that as a result of the interview being cleared out, worked tirelessly today to serve an elderly gentleman who is also disabled. And I want to thank Sheriff and staff for extending a little bit of liberality in terms of giving this gentleman time to get out because of his disability. But shortage of staff able to even recognize that. Tell us all the of clearing out Clearview. You actually are holding in your hand right now this issue and waiting on pens for we'll just call him Mr. M to be supported.
Yes. Yes. So Mr. M, like you said, was evicted from Clearview after having lived there for many years, even with his disability, he was able to function. But since that time, he's been in the same condition when he's gone from hotel to motel. And now he has been served a dispossessory warrant in the hotel. And he's just been sitting on edge for over a week for the sheriff department to show up and actually just put him out. And so we were trying all day, been trying for weeks to come up with options to get the help for Mr. M. And where we did get help is where we did not expect to get help. Those agencies and the people that we expected to get help from, we didn't get the help that we expected. So hopefully we will be able to assist Mr. M to move into maybe a rooming house, and that might be the best we could do for him, but he seems to think that's better than being in a shelter or on the street, of course. So that's, and there are a couple of more citizens from the Clearview area who are still floundering around, not having a permanent place to stay since January. So that's just some of the residual damage that has been done to those residents from Clearview. In around the arena site, I don't have the letter in front of me, but uh, I can share that letter with you, Alderwoman, and you could share it with your listeners. But there will be a meeting in October uh, for the property owners that live closest to the canal off of Stiles Avenue at the Carver Village Community Center. The meeting will be held there, and the discussion is about the widening of the canal. Of course, it's more than just a widening because there is a proposed trail that's supposed to be parallel to the canal, and they will be presenting that project to residents and what their options are. So I encourage everyone that lives in Carver Village, everyone who is interested in the canal district and that particular project to come out, just come out to support the residents, because we look forward to see what it is that is going to be presented, because we as older people don't always know. But we probably will be finding out a lot of things at the same time.
So I just found the letter, Alderwoman Lanier. Let me read, and then we can sort of point to some of the highlights that we have been making since our arrival. Um, and make shifts with you in terms of promises made with the building as well as with the arena that didn't sit too well with you. Now we have this letter dated August 31st, 2020, regarding property owners meeting, the project name being Springfield Canal, Phase 3, Chatham County. Dear Sir or Madam, the City of Savannah is in the process of acquiring the necessary right of way for construction of the above referenced project. This project involves the widening of Springfield Canal from Louisville Road to Highway 17. An informational meeting for this project will be held at the Carver Village Community Center at 905 Colette Avenue, Savannah, Georgia 31415. Representatives of the Stormwater and Real Estate Departments will be available from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. on Thursday, October 5th. This is an informal meeting, and we invite you to join us at any time after 6 p.m. The purpose of the meeting is to familiarize owners of the proposed project. Project plans will be available for your review. Okay. The purpose of the meeting is to familiarize owners of the proposed project. Okay. Please notify any tenants lien holders, or other persons having a vested interest in your property that they are also invited to attend. Please notify tenants, lien holders, or other persons having a vested interest in your property that they are also invited to attend. Enclosed is a questionnaire that we request you to complete and return to us at this meeting. You will also help us in the beginning of the acquisition process. I look forward to seeing you at the meeting. If you cannot attend or have any questions regarding this matter, please contact Sherry Jacobs, Real Estate Specialist, 912-667-4849. Sincerely, Sherry Jacobs. Okay, so I don't have the questionnaire, but we have an information sheet that gives a project description. And the project description is: Springfield Canal Drainage Basin is one of the large drainage basins in the city of Savannah. Drainage challenges are located throughout this low-lying and minimal nature relief watershed. The Springfield Canal Improvements Project is a multiple phase project that will provide drainage relief to surrounding neighbors and commercial areas between Savannah River to Interstate 16. The three ongoing project phases are: Phase 1 includes the portion of the canal between Market Arena and Highway 17, Interstate 16 ramp from Louisville Road. Phase 2 includes the portion of the canal between the Highway 17, Interstate 16 on ramp from Louisville Road to the north of Oglethorpe Avenue. Phase 3 includes the canal improvements between Gwinnett Street and Interstate 16. All phases are funded by SPLOST. The major work components of the Springfield Canal Improvement Project includes widening Springfield Canal to 100 feet, bottom width south from Staley Avenue to Savannah River on the north end to provide a 100-year conveyance capacity for flooding relief. Alderwoman Lanier, so I read over twice or three times the points that, okay, but what does this sound like? You've been at this far longer than
Well,
threat to community means, and you know what threat to community sounds like. So do I need to pipe it down a little bit, or are you going to help me here?
well, listen. Okay, so that canal is right now 30 feet wide, and we're talking about widening it to 100 feet, and so twice, three times the size it is currently, plus a trail. So to me, that's a lot of land. That's a lot of area required to do just that. Now, it's going to come through Bowles Ford, but remember, this is the same Bowles Ford we couldn't finish complete the development, the recreational development, because of the soil. So go figure. But now it will be eligible, or we'll be able to widen the canal and run the trail through there. So that to me is concerning. Now, I want people to understand that when we worked on the Arena Committee those years and the Canal District Committee, we were able to place into that plan, whenever there is a decision to be made about community benefits, that it would be a neighborhood advisory council. That's a NAC, and that's a legal term, which is a group of representatives from all of the impacted neighborhoods, and there are 10 in that area. They should be formulating an advisory council to represent the wishes of the residents of the community. And this is in place. I've been working with neighborhood leaders for the last couple of months on organizing the NAC, the Neighborhood Advisory Council. So when you have these nonprofits and all of these do-gooders who come in and want to formulate these new groups to make these decisions, that's not what the plan says. So I want the residents and the people to understand that we are bringing you to the table. You have an opportunity to come to the table to negotiate for benefits. So we're not done yet. We're not through yet. And I also want to mention we need to have a community benefit ordinance and a community benefit agreement opportunity. And Alderwoman, that I've been saying this since the time we got elected, before I became elected, because let me tell you why. Look at the other development that you referred to down off of President Street. That area is called a TAD, a tax allocation district. And they placed the TAD there. And what the benefits of a TAD is that all of the tax dollars that are raised in that area will be spent in that area. All
Right.
the tax dollars accumulated, but they had to qualify to become a TAD, and they were able to qualify based on the percentage of poverty around Capitol Street, around Fred Wessels, around Hitch. They were able to qualify to become a TAD.
So
Now,
this high wealth area
yes,
acquire a TAD to benefit
yes,
their community. Revenue generated via tax dollar stays in their community. This was all provided for because of a low wealth community.
exactly. Because of the poverty, and the rationale and the theory is that they would be able to create jobs for those poor people and lift them up. But what we find is that every time there is some type of economic opportunity, like a TAD or those districts that they put in place, we find that those are the fastest gentrifying areas. So are they helping the people there, or do they get up and then push the people out? And that is what we need to keep our eyes on.
And now that we see this forced displacement that have happened in Clearview, and I see a continuous threat district when it comes to these type of developments. Yamacraw, which is no longer in your district, and that's quite interesting as well. And that's consistent with those things related to the need for these properties that are now desirable to development in the downtown corridors to support tourism. And so you just lost Yamacraw. What were the elements that led up to that?
Well, the first district is being impacted the most because it's closest to downtown, and we have a new designation called downtown expansion. It is a actual zoning designation, downtown expansion, which means that downtown can't grow anymore. They're growing up, and they don't want to grow up because that would impede their historic status. So they're trying to grow out, and they're growing out into West Savannah, and they're calling that downtown expansion or downtown West. Can you believe that? But it's still Greater West Savannah and the west side of Savannah. But it's on the books. You could go and look at the map at the MPC and look up downtown expansion, and you'll see that purple color coming all within the African American historic community. But we need three critical pieces of equity policies to guide and manage and to be able to have smart growth and development. We need inclusionary zoning. We need a community benefit ordinance and a community benefit agreement, because now what you have is that every housing development will be required to have a certain percentage of houses set aside for affordable housing. Now we have to determine what that percentage is, but you would have a mixed income community, and not just a wealthy community, not just a low income community, but a mixed income community. And the people who are being impacted by any development will have an opportunity to negotiate a contract, a legal contract, as to what type of benefits that development need to provide for their community because of its impact. And that could be nursery, daycare, that could be actual funding going into their organizations. We need those things to have the equity, but we should have had those in place prior to all of this astronomical growth, and we placed it on the back burner. So we can't say we didn't know. We just lost 10,000 African Americans. 10,000 Black people were pushed out of Savannah based on the last census. And wealth, generational wealth has been based on property ownership, home ownership. And if we're losing ownership of homes, that's a critical matter. But we need to be addressing it like a critical matter, but we're not.
Okay, and when we talk about those pieces related to prior astronomical growth and actions or decisions that should have been made, which would have mitigated a lot of what's going on in our communities, specifically one like the Highlands. So you go to what you have termed, I remember you stated a lot on the campaign trail, from the lowlands to the highlands. And I think you represent probably one of the most unique district council that we have a community in the first district with moderate to high wealth. And then we have another community in the first district with low wealth. And then so we look at the delicate balance that you have to strike and that constituency where we are consistently concerned with equity beyond race, right? So when we look at look at the failed policy where impact fees are, we may not have had to engage in such conversation or ordinance like impact fees if it came to the table and built in those community benefits. Developers were making appeal and petitions for approval to develop a subdivision. We could have engaged in some type of a conversation or trade-off to say, what will you contribute to build a community center? What would you contribute toward a library or a police department or a fire department? Now, instead of going forth in that way, we now have to backdoor our way into making sure that the remainder of what we have to build upon in Savannah would be sufficient. But there are some proponents and opponents to their pros and cons, of course. You weigh on Alderwoman Lanier, and for most people who think that we can't agree to disagree, I'd like to say that Alderwoman Lanier and I work very well together, and we don't always agree on everything. But the one thing I can appreciate about working with you is that have a great professional relationship. We talk things out, we reason together, and we oftentimes agree to disagree and go forth professionally. So talk to us about the impact fees for Highland community, but more specifically, the greater community of Savannah, where this is.
Yes, you're absolutely right about the Highlands, and that the Highlands was being annexed in the 90s, and they were just annexing this land and annexing this area, and the right planning did not happen at that time. It was just about a land grab and just putting as many houses as possible, and the policies that should have been in place were not placed there. And so the interesting thing is what they are experiencing is the same thing that the people in West Savannah they're experiencing when you're talking about industrial intrusion, and when you're talking about the faulty roads and no amenities. So these policies really needed to be in place, like the impact fees to provide for the infrastructure and the public works, and the inclusionary zoning, so they would have some affordable housing, and they had no recreation. You had all of these people out there, all of these families with children, and they have nowhere to recreate themselves, no recreation. So the problem now with the Highlands, and I hope that I can share this with them where they will understand, they do not need to, it's their organizational structure. They could really be a powerful community development corporation, which allowed them to collaborate with stakeholders in order to create agreements. They do not need to be a neighborhood association. They do not need to be a HOA. They need to formulate and conduct community business like corporate business in the form of community development corporation. And that would empower them to be able to have more input and say so over their community. And this this will work all over Savannah. It's a model. And when you use a CDC model and an Ivory Bay is a wealth creation model, now they may need to concentrate on amenities and roads and that kind of thing, but they should call the shots. The residents should call the shots, and they can do this if they conduct their business in a corporate way through a community development corporation.
Okay, and I want to go back to the Canal District real quick. Uh, the themes with this proposal that they have shared through the letter, Alderwoman Lanier, is drainage. Do you find it interesting that flooding has occurred in Cloverdale, Carver Village, Brickyard for decades, but now all of a sudden that we are entertaining the Tide to Town trail and this whole canal experience? Do you find the timing of such peculiar and a little bit suspicious?
Well, yes, but
and I don't want to create an alarmist scenario or situation, but just how concerned should residents be? Because I've been saying almost at the onset and the rollout when I saw the $19 million put into parking at the arena, about 10 million of that is in the ground, and grass and environmental soil that's not safe for the community. I said in 2 to 4 years, if something does not change, Cloverdale, Carver Village, Brickyard will be communities that we will not recognize very soon.
And I agree with you. The drainage, there are some constructions in the ground around the arena, some catch basins, and a lot of design work done around the arena, where the arena more or less is going to be protected from the flooding. The problems will lie in your neighborhoods because we haven't done the work there. The piping is old and archaic and too small. And since the construction, we are seeing areas around Carver Village and the west side, we've seen areas flooding that never flooded before. So we're going to have to spend a whole lot of money, millions of dollars to correct or to create the kind of structure that will be able to get that water out of there, pump that water out of there. But the T-SPLOS may be able to address some of that. I'm just putting that on the table. But that's going to take some work too, because we didn't get an opportunity to sit down like we thought to be able to place our projects on the table. So we need to understand that the drainage, the water is going to go to the lowest level. And right now it's like a basin. You know, it is a basin. It's the Springfield Basin that is right there in that area. And the work hasn't been done. And I don't even know if we have a design. And that's what I was asking for, at least a design, a plan where we could phase it in. But all of that work is yet to be done. But we've placed most of our focus just on the project there. And, so we got work to do, Alderwoman.
Lots of work to do, and your hand, sure.
But let me say this, Alderwoman, the area is going to change. And we should anticipate that, because everything changes, but change. But we need to be able to not only age in place, but create wealth in place. And we can't stay there poor. And I've been saying this for the last 15, 19 years. That's why we created a wealth creation model through a community development corporation, because we're going to have to teach generational wealth. The days of poverty reduction has been gone for decades. We're about wealth creation. We could stay there. People should not really be afraid if the value of their properties increase, because that's their equity and that's their wealth. We have to teach people how to leverage their equity, how to leverage that and create generational wealth, because we can do that right there in place. We could create millionaires. We're working right now and pushing for the Waterworks building to be an entrepreneur, a community market, and entrepreneur center. That's an economic generator right there for our area. Not only will we have market rate stalls, but we will have some in a program to make sure that the success of these entrepreneurs, these young entrepreneurs, make sure that they can conduct their business and their compliance, to be legal, to be able to do their books and to be able to do their inventory. We want them to be successful through this economic engine, an entrepreneur center and community market. But we're getting so much pushback, and we don't need a kitchen. We need to have these stalls there and these entrepreneurial opportunities there for our community. And this will help. That will give us more benefit probably than the arena, because we didn't get any benefits in place in 2012 when all of that went through and was voted through. 2019, before we got elected. Now we're just trying to live with it and make sure that we could get some DBEs and local Black businesses involved in that. But at this point, we need to concentrate on the waterworks building and everything else that's going to be built out there, and making sure that we have some people in place through a neighborhood advisory council that's going to sit at the table and negotiate to make sure that we receive the benefit of that development being there. So it's not too late, but if we don't put these things in place, it's on us now. We can't look at the last council or the one before that. We got to look at what's in front of us, and we got to make sure that we put these equity policies in place, and we have to have the political will to do that. And we just haven't had that. So it's on us.
Well, and not only have we not had it, I should say this, we have had it. It's just that the process of us introducing policy initiatives or pieces that you have described tonight, we have been iced out. I can only imagine by now, as a policymaker, if you have the opportunity to put forth some of the very aggressive and progressive ideas and pieces of legislation, I can only imagine where the Highlands would be. I can only imagine where those West Side corridors would be. So it's not that we don't have the political will or you don't have the political will. It's just that you have not been given an opportunity because the rules, right?
Yes. Alderwoman, can I mention one more thing to your listener? The governor is sending $250 million, $250 million into Georgia for neighborhoods when it comes to food security and sidewalks and all the things that make the neighborhood.
It's coming to Savannah.
$250 million. Now, right. The interesting thing is this: it is coming for what? Neighborhoods. But guess what? Hudson Hill, Woodville, and Cloverdale does not qualify to get the money. Those census tracts were left out. And Hudson Hill was used when the Energy Secretary of the United States came to town to see the worst case scenario of environmental injustice and poverty. They brought them to walk through Hudson Hill. You were there. We toured and walked through Hudson Hill. And now that same neighborhood, they're telling me, does not qualify for these funds. And they're coming down. But guess who qualifies? The Eastern Wharf qualifies. Down on Farm Street, near the Baxley, near the post office, that area qualified. And right there on Abercorn Street behind the mansion, they qualify for the money. All of these places near some type of trail qualify, but these poor neighborhoods do not qualify. Go figure.
Guess what those two places have in common? Behind the post office off of Bay Street is where the new 17-story dorm is. And the mansion is where Chatham Apartments, that are handicapped and physically challenged adults, is now owned by SCAD.
And so my question was, who decided where the money goes, and why were these low and moderate income neighborhoods left out, these census tracts left out? And now everyone is looking crazy and looking at each other. And the senator said that the local were to submit the requested census tracts to the state. And our state representative didn't know anything about this. She said they don't tell them that kind of stuff.
Well, she is Jackson. So Edna Jackson just.
But the senator said that the directors probably came from the local, but no one here local said no, they didn't do it. So right now the grant is already open. It opens September the 1st through the end of November. And so folks are actually right now applying for the money, and we are left out. But the most needed area is the areas they left out.
Well, I don't know that we should just let it go like that. That this is unacceptable. Um, there's so many battles that pop up every day. It shouldn't be this way, but it is. It is the way it is, and we're so happy to do it fight, and we just pray that we are continually strengthened as we journey on. And so I want to give you an opportunity to close out on anything you may have not had an opportunity to talk about. There was a question I want to answer for one of our listeners. Miss Lucille asked if we knew if Brickyard received the letter regarding the Canal District meeting, the canal widening project. Did this letter go to people in Brickyard? Do you know? I'm pretty sure you mentioned this at the Carver.
Yes, I provided the letter there at the Carver Village meeting on this evening, but I have not yet spoken to the Brickyard president, but I will be giving her a call on tomorrow to make sure she's aware of this.
Okay. And I did speak with some of the Tatumville residents. They will be impacted by it, I'm sure. And we talked about over the last couple of weeks, Alderwoman, the issue with homelessness. And you sent me today a link from the Department of Community Affairs. And our producer will put that link in our chat. But this link provides an opportunity for people to get rental assistance. And this is actually via Chatham County, but I understand the city of Savannah is assisting in that. So all this information appeared to have been going on around us. And there's this pool of money that the county is in jeopardy of having to return to a lose it area. And you, myself, Alderwoman Blakely have been in families and children, husbands and wives with kids, single moms with children, grandmothers with children, this elderly gentleman, and we had no idea that this money, no one told us of such. And so what's your take on that? What information you want to share beyond being put in the chat, and how people can get help?
Alderwoman, you know that we were just emotionally drained the last few days by actually listening to crying people who were on edge of getting put out of their homes, people who are living in squalor. And we had to leave running out of one residence. And you can't make this stuff up. And it seems funny now because we really took off when those rats started coming out of that hole. But there are funds out there, and we knew the funds were in the local economy because we knew the ARPA funds came down, and we knew all these funds came down. A lot of money is in this local county that designated for those people that we help every day, but we had no idea of the process other than 211 of how to connect the people that are qualified and need these funds to the funds. But some people knew, but we didn't know until we found out today. And we were sharing that link all day. I shared it tonight because there are so many people that need to tap into that money. And I understand it's like $9 million left in the fund, that particular fund, and anything left over will be returned. And I dare us to return money. And these people out here are getting put in the street and placed in the street. But we're not being, in my opinion, very good stewards and managers of the money if we got that many people out there that are still homeless and living in hotels and motels, and people who are getting put out daily because of their not being able to make the rent, and the money is here locally for those people. So why aren't these people getting the information? But today, thank you for everything that you do, because we were able to help some people today that would have been on the street tonight without our intervention.
Well, I think our job would be much easier where these funds are concerned. if in fact they were used for their intended purposes. But unfortunately, Alderwoman Lanier, as much is in this city and county, this issue has become quite politicized. And we see scenarios playing out where the allocation of these funds are about friends helping friends. And that is local sitting officials helping partner executive directors, um, and about political favors being paid. And so we are going to continuously call this out. We're going to name names, Union Mission, Family United Way. We know the unique relationships that exist between those directors and members of our council. We know their historical connections, and it would not be so bad. And I would be happy, in the words of Curtis Purdy, to shut up if, in fact, we did not hear from the number of people that we are continuing to hear from. If, in fact, the conditions that people are living in our city, with the millions of dollars that have been poured in this community via CARES Act funding and via ARPA dollars, there are 147, just under 150,000 citizens of Savannah. We have had so much money poured into this community. We have received major federal subsidies and bailouts. Everybody and their mama could have been helped in some degree. And that's just the God honest truth. And I am reminded that each time we receive a call from a single mother, I'm sorry, from a single female or from a couple, rarely are they without children. And here, Alderwoman, is where we start to connect the dots. These are individuals, while adults, they are caring for children who are also homeless. These are school children who are living in either overcrowded conditions on the sofas of relatives and friends, in hotels that are substandard and below standard, and riddled with all matters of crime and criminal activity, drug activity, or they're living out of their cars. But these same children are the children we expect to go to school and to perform and behave to standards that are acceptable, despite their conditions. Well, unfortunately, far too many of them are not able to keep up, and they can't take the pressure, the bullying that comes as a result of their school bus rolling up to the front door of a hotel to pick them up, only to subsequently be bullied and teased because they don't have a place to stay. Or maybe their clothes are tattered, unclean, and smelly in some regard. Before long, those are the children who won't be motivated to go to school. And then they become subjected to the elements of our streets. And these, my friends, are sometimes a few of the children who we see committing gun violence or succumbing to gun violence. There are exceptions, not all of them, but I would venture to say that many are coming from environments. So you see, through those processes or failed processes, we ourselves as a government, we contribute to the deprivation of our community. Alderwoman Lanier, I want to thank you so much. I know it was very, very difficult for you to carve out time to be here tonight. I really appreciate it. We are constantly tasked with doing the best that we can with what we have. We do not have assistance. When you see us, we are making it on our own dime, our own dollar, and our own time. So forgive us if we're ever a little bit tardy. And if we're showing up on purpose with intentionality. Because we're trying to just be there for everyone. As I stated before, we're being all the women all the time to all people. Alderwoman Lanier, it gives me great joy to serve with you.
Likewise, Alderwoman. Likewise, your passion is so real, that it shows every day, and not only your words, but in your actions. And I appreciate you.
Well, the sentiments are the same. We're going to journey on. Stay on the walk, friend. Listen, Savannah, we love you. Good night.
Good night.
I like that.